representatives of provincial governments, members of UN agencies and development partners, representatives of private sector, academia, civil society, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum. It is indeed an honor and privilege for me to address this important forum, The Air We Breathe, organized under the Breathe Pakistan initiative by Dawn Media Group, in collaboration with Government of Punjab, the United Nations, and other valued partners. It is indeed a very timely initiative. This conference is not only about pollution. It is about leadership, partnership, and collaborations, and collective responsibility. Let us move beyond discussions and pledge that we will make change happen. Ladies and gentlemen, when we look out the window, the beautiful, bustling city of Lahore, we find suffocating. Its vibrant heart is struggling and its lungs are choked. The very air we breathe has become our enemy. It is not just an environmental issue. This is a battle for our survival, for our children's future. I stand here today not just as a minister, but as a son of this soil who feels the pain of this land with every breath we take, every breath we take. We must confront a brutal, inescapable truth. The air we breathe is making us sick, and it is holding our nation back. The data is screaming siren. This is not a distant threat. It is our present, painful reality. As of yesterday, our air was not just poor, it was toxic cocktail, a public health emergency. Lahore's AQI at 400 is a red alert for our nation. And if you happen to visit ITU, the other day I visited there, so they have a program in which they plot pollution. And they were able to demonstrate that these pollution levels, which become more visible during winters due to the smog phenomena, actually have a very steady line through summers also. We are inhaling the same polluted air that we see, and we get panic when there is smog. But let's be clear, this is not just Lahore's problem. Karachi, Faisalabad, Peshawar, almost all our urban engines are drowning in pollution. To put that in human terms, breathing this air is equivalent to smoking 2 packs of cigarettes a day. Our children, our elderly, our street vendors, our traffic wardens, they are the ones paying the price with their health and their lives. Hospitals see a surge in asthma cases, in respiratory illnesses, in premature births. This is a silent public health emergency. And the cost, the World Bank confirms, is more than 100,000 of our citizens are buried prematurely every year. Air pollution affects our health, productivity, learning, and even infrastructure. The cost of inaction is both economic and moral. We cannot let our children inherit poisoned air. But the poisoned air is just not one symptom of a deeper sickness, a climate crisis that is pounding our nation with terrifying fury. And while we choke on this poison, the climate crisis unleashes its fury. This year's monstrous floods were not a natural disaster, they were a man-made climate catastrophe. Over 1,200 lives lost, 4 million countrymen displaced, an economic hemorrhage in billions of dollars. I have walked through those flood camps and I've seen, because my own district was one of the worst affected districts, the hollow eyes of fathers, heard the cries of women and children who lost everything in the floods. This is the human face of climate injustice. These are not just numbers, they are stories of lost homes, shattered dreams, and buried futures. We have faced scorching heat waves that melted asphalt and wildfires that scared our that almost took our northern forests. Pakistan, a nation that contributes less than 1% to global emissions, is now the global epicenter of climate suffering. We did not start this fire, but we are being burned alive by it. So what is Pakistan's answer? We will not go quietly into this toxic night. We are fighting back. As the government, we are not sitting idle. Our actions are structured, strategic, and accelerating. Our resolve is etched in our Constitution, the historic 26th Amendment, a promise of a clean environment for every Pakistani. That is our covenant. We are working double time to build the architecture of a green future. The National Clean Air Policy 2023 that was recently announced and passed provides a unified national framework for improving air quality and aims to reduce fine particulate matter levels by 40% by 2030. Aligned with Udan Pakistan, the national framework of innovation, inclusion and integrity, this policy integrates clean air, clean energy and climate resilience into national planning. The electric vehicle revolution and nationwide network of air quality monitors are also important steps in this direction. This is not just or mere paperwork. This is a war plan for clean air. We are expanding Pakistan Environmental Protection Agency's air quality monitoring network to over 50 stations nationwide, because you cannot manage what you cannot measure. Each province is also contributing to this national effort. Punjab's Smoke Control Strategy 24-26 and its new Environmental Protection Act are in force, and I'm sure this morning Senior Minister from Punjab must have shared with you in detail what they are doing. Sindh is conducting rigorous mobile air quality assessments. Khyber Pakhtunkhwa is implementing its climate change action plan, and the Green Balochistan initiative is planting the seeds of resilience in Balochistan. And it is all woven into the fabric of our national vision, Udan Pakistan. Under the E for Environment and Climate Change, we are launching a green offensive. We will create a Green Pakistan Index, naming and shaming the polluters and celebrating the champions. We are mobilizing a Green Innovation Fund because Pakistan's ingenuity in our greatest renewable asset resource
because that is our biggest asset. We will enforce green building codes, building a new Pakistan
from the ground up, brick by green brick. But let me say clearly, government cannot do this alone. Clean air is not a gift from the state. It is the right we must all fight for. This is a whole of nation mission. To our industry captains, the old smokestack model is a relic of the past. It's time to choose, be part of the pollution or part of the solution. Invest in clean tech, green your supply chains. Your corporate social responsibility must become your core survival responsibility. It is not just now a matter of corporate social responsibility, but also about the future of business. Because if this compliance is not there, many deals will be lost, because in Europe particularly there are very stringent regulations for compliance with green standards. To every citizen, this is your fight too. The short car trip for groceries, walk it. That water wasted hosing down a driveway, save it. The open burning of trash, stop it. And the sapling you plant, nurture it. Ladies and gentlemen, in 2025, Pakistan submitted its updated nationally determined contribution NDC 3.0 to the UNFCCC, marking a leap forward by integrating air quality and climate co-benefits into national targets. Pakistan aims to cut greenhouse gas emissions by 60% by 2035, conditional on international support. It will achieve a 45% domestic reduction through cleaner energy, transport and industry. The government plans to transition 40% of urban transport to electric or hybrid vehicles by 2035 and enforce sectoral emissions standards for small and medium enterprises by 2027. These goals will require over $100 billion in financing. Pakistan continues to call for fair climate finance and technology transfer from developed countries to achieve these targets. Every action is a bullet in this fight for clean air. And I say to our international partners and the global community that Pakistan bears a burden it did not create. We are on the front lines of a war we did not start. We are doing our part with limited resources. We call for the urgent delivery and scaling up of climate finance. The promises made in Glasgow and Sharm el-Sheikh must become reality on ground in Pakistan. We need access to cutting-edge green technology on preferential terms to leapfrog the polluting stages of development. We demand that the major emitters of the world increase their ambition and accelerate their net zero timelines. Our survival should not be negotiable in their boardrooms. We have heard the grand announcement at COP after COP. We have seen the press releases and the photo ops. But where is the action? This inaction is fueling the storms that drown our children. Your emissions are the poison in our lungs. We grew up listening, do more. But now we ask the developed world to do more. We don't seek sympathy. We demand climate justice. It is time to move from pledges to projects, from announcements to action. Deliver the $100 billion in climate finance now, not as charity, but as reparations for the damage developed countries have caused. Transfer green technology without punitive patents. Allow us to leapfrog the pollution you caused. Stop the double standards. You cannot preach green transitions to developing countries while opening new coal mines and oil fields at home. As the UN Secretary General said, the fossil fuel era must end. Let's end the talk. Let's end the delays. The world needs a climate peace treaty, and we need it now. Renewable energy and green technologies offer not only an environmental imperative, but the greatest economic opportunity of our time. Pakistan intends to seize that opportunity. My friends, ladies and gentlemen, the choice before us is stark. Will we be the generation that watched our homeland suffocate and burn? Or will we be the generation that rose up, that fought back, that brought life back into our nation's arteries and lungs? Let us be the architects of a new dawn. Let us build a Pakistan where our children can run freely under blue skies, a Pakistan that is not a victim of climate change, but a global leader in climate solution. The time for blame is over. The time for action is now. Let's roll up our sleeves. Let's clear the air and let's get to work. Pakistan, Paindabad.